Is there anything you want to tell me about your body?
Hashtag hip flexors, I know.
She knows she has tight hip flexors, okay? Anything else? Nothing else you
Nothing
do
else.
on a regular basis?
I'm great.
Okay. I could ask her how do you spend your day? Not like what you do for a job, but you standing, you sitting?
Both. I'm at a computer and I'm walking around a lot.
Okay, so that's, because again, if someone's sitting all day, that can tell you a lot too. So you're allowed to ask all these questions. Okay, so march out one more time. Okay, so for my side view, I'm going to start with my reference point or my plumb line just anterior to the lateral malleolus, so right there. That's going to be my reference point for everything up the chain. I want to assess the ankle joints. I want to see that there's a 90-degree angle between the tibia, the front shaft of the shin here, and the sole of the foot. And looks good enough to me, so I'll just assess that that's neutral. My next reference point, I'm going to move from that anterior to the lateral malleolus and go up the line of the knee. And for the most part, I want to see that the mid-knee is right in line with that anterior malleolus. It looks a little too far back, so my fingers should be right in the middle. So I'm going to say there's some extension in this knee. We might be working to strengthen the hamstrings, but most of it, more than anything, we really want to strengthen these fascies. So really cue that she's got good extension into the knee and really squeezing through these muscles here. I'm going to continue up the pelvis, so I'm going to assess the I'm going to assess the hip joints as well as the pelvis. So I'm going to start with the pelvis first because I need to either way find the ASIS, PSIS. So ASIS here on the front, PSIS here on the back, making sure I'm truly on them. I'm going to look at my two fingers to see that they're level. ASIS looks a little lower than PSIS, but we can assess that that's still neutral for women. While I'm still here, I'm going to find the midpoint of that iliac crest, because now I want to assess the hip joint, and that midpoint of the iliac crest should be in line with the greater trochanter. So hang your arms down. For the most part, greater trochanter is going to be where the wrist hang is, and I'm just going to have Lori do a little sway of her hip out to confirm that I'm on it, and then she can go back to normal. And that looks pretty level to me. So if she is tight in those hip flexors, it's probably just from daily function, not necessarily anything being where it shouldn't be in regards to the hip and the pelvis. So neutral in the pelvis, neutral in the hips. Gonna go into the lumbar spine, so heel of my hand right on the sacrum, and reach my hand, really try to conform my hand to her low back, which is hard to do. I'm cramping my hand. So there should just be a subtle contour anterior, but there's a little too much. So we've got a little bit of lordosis going on, a little too much curve to the anterior. So we might have to be stretching in the low back, and we might assume that her abs, in particular her obliques, are weak. Might have to work her in imprint even when in closed kinetic chain. We'll see when she starts moving. Moving up from there, lower thoracic. So I should see at the lower thoracic that my hand is starting to kind of tip back a little. It's still flat, but it's tipping back, top of my hand in relation to my lower. And I think that actually looks okay. That looks like it's starting a low thoracic curve as it should be. Up here then at the upper is where I should see a little curve starting to go posterior. And that looks pretty good. Maybe a little flat right here, just at the very top 3 or 4 thoracic vertebrae. But again, for the most part, that's an okay curve. My hand curving to the posterior. I'm going to try and put my hand in the cervical spine and kind of step away as well to see that the ear canal is right in line with that, just anterior to the lateral malleolus. There might be a little too much extension here, a little bit too forward of a head. So again, just a little forward head, a little bit extension in the neck. Again, that's very common for a lot of people. Good. So we're turning around. What time do you start? This is from the other side. So again, looking at the anterior of the lateral malleolus. Want to see that there's a 90-degree angle between the sole of the foot and the anterior tibia. I think it looks pretty good to me, good enough anyway. And I'm going to slide up to that knee joint again, and just like the other side, that's extended at the knee. So like we said, may have to strengthen the hamstrings, but more than anything else, strengthen through these vasti to pull that knee more into the alignment it should be. Back up at her hips. I'm gonna find ASIS, PSIS. This PSIS is being a little more challenging, so she's a little ropey back here in this muscle. Okay. So that's a little lower than I would like it. So I'm gonna say on the right side, she does have a little bit of anterior tilt. Left side looked okay, a little bit of anterior tilt here. Okay, while I'm still there, gonna find midpoint of the iliac crest. Sorry. Drop your arms for a second. Gonna find greater, you can sway out for a second. Greater trochanter. Come back in. Again, maybe a slight hip flexion there too. But again, she's also got a slight anterior tilt on this side. Don't have to reassess everything in terms of the spine from this side view, so we'll move right onto the front view, high, march it out, looking to see where she carries the weight in her feet to assess if she's pronated or supinated or neutral. Maybe a little supinated on the left. I'm gonna wait till I get to the back view to assess that. Gonna look to see if she's knock-kneed or bow-legged at the knees. I think, again, for the purposes of our programming, that's pretty neutral. Maybe moving toward a little bit of a knock knee, but I think neutral enough. Gonna come up to ASIS again, now to palpate if they're level and or if one side of the pelvis comes around more than the other to assess a rotation. They seem level. She has counterclockwise rotation now. Her pelvis is rotating in the direction of her left. I don't know if you can see that from the visual, but you would if you came up. My thumb is this more forward than this one. Okay, gonna look at the rib cage, do a quick inflation. Then deflate. This left side is elevated. You see my thumb? And she's also got counterclockwise rotation here in the ribs. So left side rib elevated, counterclockwise rotation. Quick look at the shoulders. They almost look a little lower than they should be. This one a little lower, this one a little higher, but again, we're going to really assess from the back view. I think her head is actually okay in terms of I don't see rotation. Again, ribcage rotation, pelvic rotation. Are you seeing that? You seeing the ribcage rotation? Stands out actually a little more with her. Okay, pause those there.
Okay.
Good?
Exterior view.
March out for a second. You might have already, if I didn't see you, then you can. Okay, so I'm going to start back down to the feet. So just reassessing for pronation or supination, or again, if they're neutral. And again, maybe a little supination. And then maybe a little more on the left. It looks like the inside ball of the foot just doesn't have as much weight, but it's pretty slight. I don't know if it's going to affect any of our programming. Okay, moving up to the knees. So again, from the front view, we said maybe, if anything, a little knock-knee. That's even maybe almost a little more obvious, actually, from the back view to see that. But really, we're going to look here for rotation in the femur. So I'm going to get right up on the femur, kind of uncomfortably roll and palpate down to where you feel these two little slopes of the femur, and then get right on the condyles. And if it's neutral, my fingers should pretty much line up with each other. That side, I think they do. Sorry. Yeah, just come over, because I kind of have to be looking at the back, which means I'm right in your way. And again, so there's the slope. Doesn't it feel great, Lori? And then right down on the actual condyles. this one actually might have a little lateral rotation. Lateral rotation. Again, it's pretty slight. But that's how you have to palpate, that uncomfortably. Sorry. Gonna reassess here at the PSIS. So now that you're looking from the back view, I'm just gonna like this part. If you're not quite sure you're on them, you can have the person bow forward a little bit, and that makes them a little more superficial to feel, and you can come back up. So again, not seeing any elevation, but again, seeing that counterclockwise rotation. And again, the ribcage doesn't seem as apparent as it did from the front. Yeah, I'm still saying. Counterclockwise rotation, rotation, rotation. Good. Coming up to the scap, so right away we can tell absolutely no winging. I mean, that's just whole medial border is completely conformed. Same thing, I don't think I have any anterior tip or tilt. So that's a perfect example, and you can certainly state those because they stand right out to you. Superior angle, okay? So kind of Lori was talking about before, if you palpate up the medial border until you just get to that end point, and then again, that's how I usually confirm that I'm on it, not necessarily very comfortable. Do a little head tip. So, come up one time, the head, and then go forward again. And if you're not sure, hers don't stick out as much. You can always have them come up and back down. C7 is going to move. T1 is not. So that would be another way you could confirm, because hers don't stick out as nicely. So T1, T2. So that seems okay. Right, superior angle, T2. Gonna keep this finger on T2 now. So that's a little elevated. Left side's elevated. So again, might be a little tight up here. Might have to focus on some stretch up here, or again, maybe some strengthening into these lats, but probably more than anything else, some stretch there. Okay, protraction, retraction. So hold up 3 fingers. And like Lori said, hers are just a little wider than mine. So I'm going to find any of the vertebrae between the scabs. So hers are a little wider than mine. But that's her medial border. So what do we think about that scap?
Protracted.
Yep, because there's too much distance between her spinal column and that medial border. Okay, sorry, I just lost it in showing you that one. Just want to make sure. This one's more, but this one is too. I mean, there's the medial border. Her fingers are a little wider than mine. But again, more protraction on the right than the left. And then again, looking for the upward, downward rotation. So, superior angle, inferior angle, should be stacked perpendicular to each other. Now on this side, superior. Do that little tricky thing. There it is, and then just rest it back down. Again. So really, a little bit of protraction, more so on the right, a little bit of elevation. So she might be tighter on the right side chest wall, tighter on the left side upper trap. So those are just areas we can stretch or mobilize, and just watch out for evenness when she's going through her moves. Okay, again. And I think she's actually rotated counterclockwise in the head. Can you see a little easier? It just shows up more because again, I can see more of her jawline coming around this way. So counterclockwise rotation and counterclockwise rotation, and she's just kind of overcompensating, bringing things back around to the right up here at this moment anyway. Looking at the electron processes. That one seems okay. That one's going off to the right a little more. Can you see that? Which again, we said the right scap was more protracted. So it makes sense that the right humerus has some medial rotation to it. Turn to the side. Do a nice little roll forward. Take your time. Upper thoracic not really moving. Lower thoracic, yes. This is kind of moving as a unit. Come back up. Did you see that again?
I saw that.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Good? You saw it?
Mhm.
So that upper part that I saw where these looked a little too flat, and then again, if someone has lordosis, they're tight in the low back. So this is probably going to move as a unit. Okay, now she's going to turn away again. And I'll tell you when I'm ready. All right, so roll it forward once again. And again, I don't see any scoliosis curves, so I think her rotation is just habitual, functional. So come back around to these guys. So we already stated what we're going to do about the scaps. Kind of open up this side a little bit. This is probably tight. You might just choose, both arms in an open position to cue this being open. This side elevated over here, so this might just need some stretch. And again, just cueing head to be where it should as we're going through each of the moves. We said ankles being good enough. We'll watch for the knee tracking again because she's extended in both knees and there's a little bit of a knocking, so we're just going to watch that again, full extension with her legs, and then we strengthen those vasti. And then as far as the rotation, so again, counterclockwise rotation of her pelvis and her rib cage. So the assumption is going to be maybe that we have to cue a little more strength with these obliques as she goes through all of her movements as we try to mobilize the lordosis and this flatness up here. And then again, maybe just some imprint in general, strengthening to the obliques in general because of the lordosis. Lots of stretch to the low back. Hips we didn't really see. I mean, again, what was it? Right side was anteriorly tilted, right? So definitely some hip flexor stretch with maybe some more emphasis on the right than the left. That's pretty much it. What do you think?